Lovely day, isn't it? And of course, the show is Conversation. I am Elizabeth Amai. Every day we sit down here, we listen to you, we hear you, and we react. Some time ago, a lot of people decided that we must speak on certain things, which, for me, is still one of the first things that came to fore when God created man and woman. Yes, it is about relationship. How do we cope? You wake up every day, there is a relationship between mother, father, children, whatever it is existing. And when it is broken, no one is happy. How do we begin to ensure that that relationship is not broken? How do we begin to ensure that the man and the woman that said I do continue to do I do all year long? And of course, we know that the children who are, by the way, byproducts of the I do, are visitors to the home. They will come, they will go. They have their own relationship to build. And of course, they also have the extended relationship waiting to be satiated. All of that is what we intend to look at on today's edition of Conversation. I told you already, my name is Elizabeth, and when we say conversation, we ensure that it's not all one person talking. So many voices here. And of course, we have. Let me let you
Joy
introduce.
Banachi. It's good to be here this morning.
Whenever you're on stage, I get frightened because I expect fire.
No, I just say it the way it is.
Okay, so we have a new person joining us. Let me let you introduce yourself.
Hi, Liz. Good to be here. My name is Tokumbo Giwa Amu, and I'm excited to let my voice be heard and share my views on what it is we're going to talk about.
All right, so Tokumbo and I have a lot of things in common. Mm-hmm. One of them is our ability to jog from here to City Gate, which I intend to talk about. But you also do something that I don't do. You're a writer, and I see your book in front of us. We'll get to mention that as we go on. And thank you for bringing some of the books for us to share. And those of us who are watching at home, if you can join us here, before 1 hour expires, there's a whole lot to be eaten here, courtesy of every one of us here too. So, and then you also get to partake of the book as well if you can join us before 10 o'clock. But if you can't, the iPad is here waiting to have your messages. For now, let's take a break.
The center is purposely established in order to provide these services that are examinations, medical examinations, and investigations that were not provided for in Kano as well as the entire Northwest region. It's equipped with modern technological equipment in terms of radiological services. We have MRI 1.5 Tesla. We have digital X-ray as well as 4D ultrasound equipment. The importance of the center cannot be overemphasized. Just within 1 year, the center attended to thousands and numerous patients as well as medical examinations. NKDC is established in order also to provide these healthcare facilities as a discounted price.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
COVID-19, that is the black swan of the century, has actually hit the whole world very hard, even the strongest of economies, and Nigeria was not spared. But due to the proactive stance and steps that the president has taken, we've been able to come out quickly. The president has consistently said we must invest in infrastructure, even as we're investing in human capital, that we must invest in infrastructure, because at the end of the day, that is what will bring about a sustainable economic growth. So the president has given us our directive. He has said you must make sure you pay salaries and pay pensions, but you also make sure that the critical projects of roads, railway, airports, bridges, major infrastructure that are meant to drive the growth of the economy, that we consistently invest in them, even if we have to continue to borrow to do so.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
This present government has done a lot on the train modernization. They came in and completed the Abuja Kaduna, and we have 9 stations there, 5 stopping stations and 4 crossing stations, making 9. And when we started in 2016, we started with 2 trips, then we later moved on to 8 trips. And we are talking about moving to 14 trips a day, and we have been able to send 10 DMUs, 10 coaches, and 2 locomotives new. We have 12 stations on the Takbere line. It's about 312 kilometer length of track, and it's over 35 years old. And the government came and took it up, finished the track, build modern stationing, and the stations are finished. Working on the signaling. We all hope to start the commercial operations by the end of September.
All right, managing relationship is our focus today, and we cannot exactly manage relationship well without the man, because the first relationship on earth actually was between Adam and Eve. You know, so we have given ourselves break to have Kevin join us. Kevin, good morning.
Morning, a pleasure. Sorry I'm late a bit.
Okay, we'll accept that. That's how
but the
Adam
first
was
relationship
late.
between Adam and God, not Adam and Eve.
Relationship between Adam and God.
Yeah, that's what started.
That's what started. Are you really serious? You always have a twist to everything, but I'm not going to reply to that. But let's move on. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of times we go to the altar, we say, I do. In today's world, some people don't do that. You know, they just decide, okay, we want to go and have it. Anyhow it is, it's still a relationship. What have always been on my mind, what has always been on my mind is, how come at the point I said I do, I said it with stars in my eyes, and then suddenly 2 years down the line, something is wrong. What happened to those stars?
Well, I think most of the time we go into relationships not knowing what we want. You have to define relationship. Are you getting married with your friend? It's so key, because if you can't communicate, you already have a problem.
Communication.
Communication for me is very, very, very key. Then, what do you want out of the relationship? Because most of the time it's defined. Do you want kids? Because I have some friends who have gotten married, and from the onset they said they didn't want to have kids.
Are you serious?
Very strange. They're Nigerians. Very strange.
Nigerians.
Nigerians.
What happened to the mother-in-laws?
I don't know about that. But you see, I know that I knew those relationships wouldn't work. Because the way the society, the Nigerian society is, how do you go into a marriage without having kids?
Mm-hmm.
In Nigeria, you have girls, the girl child.
Mm-hmm.
They're hounding it on you. You must have a male child. So sometimes I sit down, I wonder, why do you get married? Why don't you just cohabit together instead of getting married? Then the thing here is that the people who get married come in praying for their mother-in-laws to be dead. So the thing here is that you're already starting on a very, very faulty foundation. So the thing now is that they always tell you that if you want to get married, go to church, do the counseling. Some people think it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it is key. Go there and let them talk to you. You cannot get married when you don't have a job. How do you pay your bills? When a woman pays the bills, she is the man. And you know the typical Nigerian man, he's Oga, he's master, he's king.
Even when he's on the receiving end.
He's sleeping at home. The lady goes to work, she comes back, and the next question, I want to eat bokoto, I want to eat inyo, I want to eat ishon. But you don't put anything on the table. So For me, that is why so many relationships are not working.
Wow. Kevin is looking at you and smiling. Do you agree with her?
Well, to a very large extent, I agree with that in the sense that first, relationships were not defined before getting into. But I want to take us back to the family. What were we told before we became adults? To understand the importance of relationships. We all got into relationships by way of adventurism. Without even knowing what we're getting into, we saw some things that looked like what we liked, and we decided to get into a relationship, hoping that it would be like those things that we saw, without first understanding our personality differences. So we need to begin to teach our kids, first discover who they are, try to help them to clarify their personality traits, so they now know those that they will get into relationship with that can complement their personality traits in order to have that compatible, atmosphere. Then once they come together, they now begin to define what they're getting into. You see, once the importance of a thing is not known, is abuse is inevitable. So people we all get into relationship with this hope, especially those of us who are Christians. And in some other religion, it's even worse, in the sense that they don't even understand what they're getting into. They just believe it's a cultural religious demand, and they get into that. And so you see a girl of 9, 10 is already married, without even understanding what life is. And she passed down that same thing to our next generation, because it was what she was made to understand that what life was, And so we all need to begin, as a society, need to redefine. There need to be a paradigm shift to define, because society is actually family is the bedrock of society, right?
Sure.
And if family is the bedrock of society, what are we doing to strengthen the family structure so we can have a better society? Because the garbage we see today in the society came from the family. And the dysfunction in the family is as a result of society's inability to truly define what family should be and how relationship can go on. So if we take care of all of these things, we will be able to have a relationship that would not thrive and stay longer. And see, there's this misconception we have, which is, I think, is also innate, in the sense that you see a man, without even telling him what to do, a little boy, once there's an absence of a father in the home, that little boy starts acting like a man in that home.
True.
It's a natural, innate behavior. I see that in the midst of the animals. If you have cockerels and cock, once there's no cock, the cockerel start acting like a cock. Right? And so how are we taking advantage of this, traits that we have to see that we do the right thing? And that is why we must define it. And once they get into it, both parties need to know if they truly they can complement each other. Most times people look for compatibility, which is very wrong. What you should look out for is complementariness. How are you able to complement yourself? Because for us to have current, to have light, there must be negative, positive. It is only when you have that spark, then if it is properly utilized, you will have fire. If it's not utilized, you'll have light. So that's it.
What you said reminded me of somebody who said, I'm going to marry somebody because when I touched him, I felt his spark. And, and they actually got married, and they're still married till now, after 40 years. It's still working because they touched the man and she got a spark. So, negative and positive. Okay. Now, let me leave it to you. Still on the same issue. Why do we always have that crack somewhere?
From what they've said, I'll just go with the light thing first of all. Is that they said, how many times did it take the guy that created the light bulb? How many times did he say, learn how to not get it right?
Yes.
So, and then he made it. So what happens is that you first of all, you meet each other, you're like, the spark comes, and you need to grow. We all need to grow. He talks about the family. What happens is that in everything that we do, we make mistakes. Even with friendships, you quarrel. You're like, I'm not going to talk to you again. You're not my friends anymore. And then you're like, what's the big deal? And you continue. So what happens is that you have to be friends. Because the spark comes, yes, so the love at first sight, or the people that say the Lord said. Yeah, and then when that happens, when that's gone,
the spirit say you're my wife.
Exactly. So what happens? So you have to grow friendship. And in friendship, today you're annoying me. Tomorrow you irritate me. Hello, I don't want to see your face. But then you realize that, okay, what really happened? Why didn't it happen? What did we do? And then you come back and say, okay, you know what? We can sort this out. and then grow. So you build the friendship. So friendship is really key, and that's where communication comes in, because you need to talk. Just keep talking, and then what happens is love. You realize that, look, I'm so in love with you, and
Love
I can't
conquers
do
all.
without you. Yes, love does conquer, but but the truth is that I always tell people that if I still have to mention this, but if you said in my book, the first chapter, incidentally, I mean, the way you just
Which of the
brought it
books?
out,
This one?
yes, it says, what's love got to do with
Do
it?
it.
Okay.
What's love got to really do with it?
7 times 7 equals to 49. Perfect imperfection.
Yes.
That's the book you're talking about.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
As if I knew.
Can you
So
imagine?
those who are watching at home, you better come and have a copy if you're with us, and get to find out what love got to do with it.
So what happens is that, I mean, I walked in here and we're red and black, and then she comes in and he comes in
Red and black. What's happened? I was going to say that.
when
This is communication.
no, but you see, what happens is that with marriage, I always tell people, God doesn't make mistakes. He already has connected the dots already. So if it doesn't work out right, something is wrong. Go back together. Understand it. Don't just get angry and leave each
leave.
other. And just walk out of it. Of course, there's always the other side, the like 10%. Let me not say 1% of if you can't handle it, run for your life.
Yes. Once it's turning physical, I think you should.
No, I want to chip in. I'm sorry, I want to chip in. I think the problem in the Nigerian setting, families interfere. Families interfere. And I've seen it over and over again that two people who love themselves, families always interfere. And I think that's one thing, because I noticed that growing up, I never knew my parents used to quarrel. They go in the house and
Lock the door.
they lock the door, then they make us think that marriage was so beautiful, it was so nice. It was when I grew older, then I used to hear them, that was when I knew the difference, that look, they made it work.
Yes.
Because they used to say, where we came from, your parents tell you never to come back.
Yeah.
You've decided that you're getting married to, and they will call them and say, are you sure you want to get married? Do you love him? They say, then they tell you that marriage is not a beautiful sail. So can you, good times, bad times, can you cohabit together? And somehow it works. But these days they tell you, okay, if it doesn't work, okay, come back home. So I don't know whether things have changed, and we don't. You see, the sanctity of marriage, I think, has been lost.
Marriage is something that I always describe as bed of roses, because there's never any rose without thorns.
True.
And life generally, if it's all sweet, 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 at a point you begin to get bored. But if you have challenges, you surmount, you're better able to enjoy better, So that's for me how marriage is. But I want to get back to practicality. What are those things that always cause problem? You mentioned something, the in-law. What are those things? I can begin to, maybe from people's experience, including mine, reel out a whole lot. I like attention. Do you understand? Oh, I like attention.
Really?
And if I'm not getting that attention, I will nag you. So there are small things that really, what Kevin said, really.
Yeah, because
What are the tiny things that can actually irritate you in marriage?
first we need to understand. She said something. Yeah, talked about the family interference and talked about what she copied, the mirroring effect from her parents. Oh, they don't even call it. They let her know so they're calling some kind of this. So why are we not teaching our kids? Why are we not being taught on the most important things that need to be done? Instead of telling our kids to say, you don't come back, you want to define, first of all, understand if this person is actually someone you want to be with. Stoic said something, when I was writing, he said, if you call someone a friend, you lack the moral right to judge that person after you have called him a friend. It means that you're supposed to have judged this person to know that this person is fit enough to
be
go
a
on this
friend.
journey with me. And so once you have made up your mind to that decision, you don't have the right any longer to judge this individual, because then now you cannot begin to manage the differences. Like she said about the quarter, it's okay, I'm not talking to you anymore, but later again, you go back again. The reason you're going back, because you're looking at something bigger than, the whole issue on ground at that particular time. What was the first thing that connected us? Was it the spark? Was it because of the physiology? Was it because of something else? For the Sapios, they would like to want to see that you're intelligent. Oh, this person is intelligent, right? How sustainable is that?
Yeah.
When you look at other factors, when you come to talk about finance, when you talk about romance, when you talk about, so she talked about attention, and like I said, really, were you able to define this from the beginning to your spouse? Look, what keeps me going is when you give me attention. And so if he's not fit enough, he will tell you, baby, sorry, I can't. But because we wait to think that we are soothsayers, psychic beings, to read minds. And so what we do is that you should have known better. Don't you see the signs? And so some of us, we act like submarines. We pop up once in a while, and act like Sunday people. On Sundays we are very holy, then Monday we are something else. So we need to clearly define who we are in order to explain to our partners, or intended partners, this is who I am. Like for me, I like my peace. I'm more of an ambivert than I like my corner a lot. But I'm also very playful. Now, if I don't let you know that I'm playful, you think I'm a very serious person. Then when you see me playing, you get disgusted. Who's this guy? Because the other person might not like me being playful, want me to be this, psychedelic being, acting like all pause and all of those things. And I'm being playful like, oh my God, what did I even marry? Right? And the person's reaction begin to communicate to me negatively, then I start also reacting to such kind of negative reaction. Before it was happening, we're not communicating any longer, and rift comes in. And I've seen that happen even in my own family, and I mean, that's it. Because we didn't understand it. And I know that if we really want to make progress, no matter how bad, even if you started on a faulty foundation, once you come to the understanding that there's a need for this to work, you sit down and ask the basic questions you can actually resolve. But except there's physical abuse and diabolical abuse, then you want to run for your life, because love conquers all, but love has sense.
And I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of deceit.
Yeah, there's a lot of deceit.
Yes,
So I think that's the
And
biggest.
that's why the law also gives you provision that once there's deceit, I mean, how can you as a man,
Yeah.
you're impotent, and you act like you're a big Christian, you're Holy Ghost
Beautiful.
sanctified, you speak in tongues, and you tell your wife to be that we're not going to have premarital sex,
Then
and
you
she
get
believes in
married.
you, then you get married, and the first night you say, look, I'm fasting, second night you're fasting, and the next thing, after 1 year, you're still fasting, and what is happening?
Yes.
You're talking to the Lord
You're
about
talking
the
to the Lord
relation.
about it, and before it's
And
happening,
your parents.
and the woman is starving,
know.
and probably
That's
she could be a sexually hard person and she's starving, and the next thing look, I can't take it anymore. He said,
Yes.
the guy is impotent. No, you need to leave that marriage.
Yes.
What's
There's
from this was deceit.
deceit, a
Or
lot of
maybe even the
deceit.
man could be, homosexual.
Yes,
Because
yes.
of the society,
By the society,
he decides to
yes,
marry.
Just to
And then
keep
you're
the
now
woman.
you're
Because
doing a
that's
double.
I think that's one of the basic problem we're having now. Deceit.
Deceit. Yeah, I agree with you.
Because I noticed that a guy is going to get married in Ibadan. He's going to come to Abuja. All these are real life stories, not
Real time.
it's not the M&B stuff. Then
like
he's
that,
married
M&B.
here. Then he's married. So you see, and that's why I always tell people, when he came and said he wanted to marry, did you meet his family?
Check up.
No, they arrange families
In
now.
some
Oh,
cases,
they do.
They
Yeah,
do.
no,
They
you go
do.
to
I know
Motor
of a
Park
case,
now.
they are
You
arranged
collect
families.
mama, collect papa.
It is real
They arrange
real
families.
life.
So let's say
It's-
African magic is real life. It's not.
It's
just-
no, but and you see, and that's what I keep telling people. People say, "Oh, African magic is a lie."
It's all real life.
It's real
It has
life.
happened.
It's just they're just showing
They're telling
you
you the story.
so that if you don't have brains or if you cannot see,
So you can process and
And
but there's
that's
something
it.
else we don't need to miss: intuition.
okay,
Yes,
true.
that's
Intuition
Tells
has really
you.
worked. I know there's no one human being, irrespective of your faith, that you don't get to know before things happen to you. By way of
That's
dream,
it.
by way of some announcement, but even by animal, you get to know.
Do you accept?
That's the thing now.
Yes.
When this thing comes in, oftentimes our selfishness drives our decision.
Yes.
Yes.
She looks beautiful, she's presentable, irrespective of the fault that I'm seeing or I've heard, we can gloss it over.
No, you change.
know.
You can change her.
I can change it, or
They're
I
always
can
thinking
change
they are
it.
sending
You can't
small
change
gods.
anybody.
So, but for
Because
every, for
Yeah.
not just the women even the women get married and they think they can change the men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes even the women are coming in to cover up a lot of things as well.
True.
You know, and you know, you say she can't give birth. So you say the
she
man
knows.
says he can't get it up or something. The woman says, meanwhile they know.
They know.
They don't tell anybody, and both families even know sometimes.
But people lie about age.
They lie.
When
lie
they
about
know the
age,
menopause,
that-
you've gotten to that point, and you're telling the man that you are.
Yeah, it's 15 years.
So how
They're
how's it
not
gonna
transfer- They're
work?
not
And
transferring
thank God for
responsibility
it.
to
You mean you've
spiritual.
gotten to menopause and you tell the man you want to marry that you're...
They will tell you they are 45.
Or even less than 45, they do that. And you know what they do? They now put every responsibility on the spiritual aspect.
Yeah.
So they start going to churches and other places to want to see that they get results. They believe God can do miracle. You know,
Yeah.
because
Sarah,
we've
Sarah
seen
gave birth at
so that, you know, so
Yes.
this kind of testimony comes in to further strengthen their deceit.
But it can happen.
happen.
They can give back to you. If you believe.
Let me talk with
and are called.
So
Not only just
Kumbo.
believe.
Let
They
me
must
talk
be
with
called for
Kumbo.
it. There
You
must
know,
be a purpose
that's
given to it.
that's the at the entry point. Now there are some people, they've been in this marriage for a while. They've had children. You know, women especially, when we have children, we seem to transfer the love we had for the man to the children. Somebody once told me that those children are visitors. They will come and they will go. I needed to speak on this. How do we begin to ensure that the children don't overtake? In fact, one man that I know is somebody I know very well. Because of this very issue, after the first child, the second one came, he said the wife will not breastfeed. And we said, what is the problem? He said, because this is causing a problem.
Yes.
Between him and
The breast is for the man. The child should go and drink
milk.
milk.
That's
I
It was
think
a
there's
problem.
there's a
That's
reason
selfish, man.
in my own little research, I discovered why that oftentimes happens where we transfer, I call it transference. We transfer the love we have for our spouse to our kids. The moment there's a breakdown of communication, we're no longer communicating as effectively as we should be communicating. The next we do is to transfer whatever we have to the kids. And in some cases, when we get upset, we're pained, we transfer that also to the kids in order to get at our partners.
True.
So, it all boils down to communication now. How many kids do we want to have? Where do we want to have the kids we want to have? A woman should know better than the man when it's actually safe to actually have kids.
No, I don't think
No,
so.
I know. Why I say so is this. You know,
I
because
don't,
your ovulation period, all of those things.
Many people don't know
Well,
when they
some-
have their
let me-
ovulation.
Many
say
people
something
don't know,
here.
but some know
So
also.
besides because what you're talking about maybe later into the marriage, when I got married, first of all, it's the two of you. So it depends on how you've met, how you love yourselves, and how you exactly communicate. However, you know, like you said, these children are visitors. We decide whether you're going to have 2, 3, 4, if you like, have 20, that's fine. But it's the two of us that are in this thing. So, I mean, I got married, I had children. From day one, I always tell my children, I can't wait for you to go. So that I can have my kids and I
And
together.
enjoy yourself.
I went for a wedding once. This is a long time ago, and the pastor said this, and I remembered it forever. He said, "You know, you two are getting married today. It's the two of you. You're going to start giving birth, and when you give birth, you know, I said it's the women that do it. I don't know, maybe." He said, "Don't put your child here. The two of you are sleeping together. The two of you are like this.
Something
So
that-
you give birth and you make space and put the child in between.
Between.
That's one child. You make space, you give the second child. And so what happens is that the truth is that it looks like it's
Distance.
happening
Keeps-
in the
it keeps
physical,
dividing,
but
yes.
yes, but emotionally and mentally you're moving apart.
True.
So this is what happens. But however, when you give birth, move the child over. Let the child sleep in his crib. So I always tell my friends and people,
Yeah,
when you
agreed.
don't put your child in your bed. Oh, the excuse of I'm breastfeeding. No, don't be lazy.
Get
You
up.
know, get up and I mean it's just how long are you going to do it? So your husband and you are together, you know, and then the husbands make the excuse as well. Oh, you know, she just gave birth. Let her no.
Don't give her space, man.
No. In fact, you can't mix it. Yeah, my husband and I, when I gave birth, this the breastfeeding thing
The pump.
yes.
Yeah.
So I wake up the first time. The second time, no, Prince. It's your turn. So we're in this together. Do you understand? So there's no excuse that the children have come and they're pulling us apart. No. You know, you must always make
Determination.
room, be together, do things together, you know, keep talking together, play together, love each other together, and love each other together in front of your children. You said something, so you said something about hiding to quarrel, things like that. I told my children, I said, there are different types of families. They're the ones that they never hear their parents quarrel. Because the parents are always quarreling only when the children are asleep. They're the ones that they hear the children, they hear their parents.
Correct.
So it's a normal life. The other ones, there's even no quarrel, there's no hearing, there's no anything, there's
nothing.
just fake life.
Yeah.
So which one? But the truth, I tell my children, you hear me quarrel.
But
Everything, because that's real life. For me, you see, the more you teach practicality,
See.
it's easier than when they grow up and they think,
get lost.
my parents never quarreled.
Never did.
I hear
Never
people say
did.
that my wife and I, we have never quarreled. The person saying this is the one that's lying. Because the wife is looking at him like, yeah, right. She has been covering him up. Or the woman that comes and says, my husband and I, they are probably beating her somewhere. So she can't say the truth. But be open as much as you can to your children, first of all. I mean, even if you don't want to take a secret outside, be open, let them know what it's all about so that tomorrow
They'll be able. Okay, like I want to just chip into what you just said about being open. I have some friends who their parents always fight, and they sit, and it's a pity because you learn stuff from your parents.
Sponging.
That's it. So you pick the bad,
Yes.
you also pick the good. And he was a very close friend of mine, he was beating his wife.
Beating.
He was beating her. And he said his mom didn't die from beating.
Oh no.
Are you serious?
So sometimes when some things are in the open, they're bad things.
Yeah.
But
see
there's a
also-
clause to it. Sorry,
Can I-
there's a
can
clause
I
to
just-
it, right? Okay. When you say sometimes when things happen, it's a bad thing. How are you able to resolve your conflict in front
Very
of your
good.
kids?
Exactly. Yes.
It's what basically kids process.
Yes.
Right? They're sponges. When we do things and cover them up, what that transfer to them is different. The understanding is different. But when we do things and let them understand why we did the things we did, and that how foolish or how right it was, then they now process it and have their own understanding and take the right decision. I saw that with my kids. That there was a day I got broken and I was crying by they said like, what's happening? I said, no, this is what is happening. This is why this is happening. And there's nothing wrong.
You were crying.
Yes.
As in, was there water coming out?
Of
from
course,
your
yeah,
eyes?
there was. With all of those things and stuff like that. And some guy said, you shouldn't have made that to your kids. I said, no, you're wrong. They should be able to see me.
Yes.
In the context of the state I was and how I'll be able to come out from that. So that gives them information with which they can also process. Oh, my dad went through this phase in his life and is able to come out through this place by doing this thing. So they can have a better understanding on how to handle it.
But violence.
But violence.
We're not even talking about violence. When I was talking about violence at all. I'm just talking about regular, back and forth bantering and things like that. And another thing that you said about how do you resolve it, which is another thing that I always talk about. So we quarrel or we shout at each other. My husband about it says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But I'm saying, okay, you know what? But somehow you resolve it in front of.
They still see you
yes,
resolve
so they
it.
see,
Yes.
and they know that you're okay, as opposed to you just fight and then you slam this door, you slam that door. No.
Because I think kids pick a lot of things. Growing up, I was the first, and so I had to cook, I had to clean, because even when I had to ask my mom one day if she was my mother, but there was something she did
Are you
in that
serious?
family, in that family circle, that I felt was a bit funny. The boy child was not meant to cook. The boy child was not meant to do anything. No, things have changed. So, growing up now, like I had a nephew said, no, my daddy doesn't do this, because my dad didn't do it. I said, well, things have changed.
Yeah.
You should learn. Things are not meant for women, and things are not meant for men. Everything is meant for everybody, because it's so strange. I think I even said it in the last program when I was here on Conversations, where you have the man sleeping and the woman is putting petrol in the gen and switching it on. I think we have to talk more.
Yes.
There are societies that actually encourages that. There are societies that allows a woman to go do the job and the man stays at home.
We're
to-
Nigerians.
No, I mean the society
Yeah.
in Nigeria. I'm saying
Yeah.
Nigeria. The society does that.
Where
in,
is that?
Yes, actually,
in,
they
in
are.
Nigeria, in Southwest, in South, in Southeast,
They are
there are
lazy
societies.
men.
Yeah, good. Now, I think it's also because the patriarchy system
Yeah.
as it is so deep, making the man actually is a king, no doubt about it. But his kingship is in service. His kingship is in protection. His kingship is in provision. And his kingship is in that, coordinate, cooperate, cohabitation.
Okay.
When a man becomes a king in terms of lordship, he misses it completely.
Beautiful.
It misses it completely. So we need to begin to teach this society. This is what it's supposed to be. There's no need for feminism. I will often tell people this: the neck determines how the head rolls.
Exactly. Exactly. We've been speaking, and you made me remember, a certain portion in the Bible. I think Ephesians somewhere,
Yeah,
where it
that's
says,
it.
the
Husband
man should love
love
the wife
wife
and provide.
Provide.
In fact, if you cannot
As-
provide, you're worse than an
An
infidel.
infidel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the woman was not even mandated to love.
No.
The woman was just to be submissive
Submissive
enough
to
to
the
receive
man.
all the
man.
love and all the material things
Yeah.
that will come from the man. So every man who thinks maybe because we are westernized, I don't know what that means.
I don't
So
know.
the woman should go. If you want to be the real king, if you want to be respected, you must learn to make the provisions you were supposed to make. But then back to the other room. I still want to talk about that.
Which other room?
The other way.
No, not the other room.
kitchen.
Not the other room. The other
Oh,
room.
the other room.
Other
Okay.
Why I've often heard, some women will tell you, I stay in my room and he stays in his room. I don't know if he's right too, but if I'm judging from what she said, if we have two rooms for the husband and wife, one should be a dressing room, one should be a bedroom. So because it was said that two will become one.
Yes.
So when you're sleeping, I remember when I was getting married, my auntie actually told me, said, there is no third party in this business. Don't come to your mother, don't come to your father, don't come to me. If you have issues, there's only one judge. I said, Auntie, what does that mean? He said, your mattress, your bed sheets, your pillow will settle it. So
True.
meaning that you shouldn't carry it overnight.
Yes.
There's no how you're going to sleep with somebody on the same bed, you're doing a bit of cuddling and all that, and you cannot express your grievances
yourself.
and settle it. So when you live in different rooms, you're already causing a problem. Do you understand? So I don't know if I'm...
I agree with you, and I always tell this it's a true life story of my parents and I. So we got married, and of course he comes back, he's annoying me, he's irritating me. Don't touch me. I don't want you to touch me. I don't want to see your face. So I'm sleeping like this. You know how you can sleep like
Yes.
this? So he's like, hello, face me.
Thank you.
I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? You know, whether we're quarreling, we're happy, you will look at
Face me.
until, and reluctantly and of course with anger, I have no choice but to keep looking at him. How long is that going to last?
It's not going to last.
No.
With time, you will start laughing.
Exactly. So that's what happens. And that has actually helped me a lot. And I tell people the same thing, so that same room thing, and of course, thank God for my parents. I was brought up with my parents in the same room. If they shout at themselves from today till tomorrow, I just excuse them because they always tell, don't put your mouth inside your mouth.
It was the same with my parents. They will fight too, but if in the course of your fighting, I support my mom. The same mom will attack me.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
true.
support my father. He will say, "What do you mean? Do you know you're talking about your mother?"
Yeah.
So I learned
The
not to
good
get
thing
involved.
there is understanding. I grew up in the barracks, and you know how the barracks is with the yeah and all that, and my mom can go on and on. The man understood her when she's going on and on. He just took his keys. By the time he comes back, she's sleeping. In the morning, she's forgotten.
Yes.
That's how it is.
So it's so key that you have to stay in the same room. And those are the lessons people of today or our generations have not learnt. This one says the man is snoring. This one says the pressure of work. The man says she's taking the whole space in the room. So I always tell my friends, I said, you know what, why don't you get a room for all your stuff, but make sure your body is on that bed, because if you know what men do at night when their wives are not on the bed,
What do they do?
I don't know.
Kevin, what do you do?
I'm hearing that for the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I'm not really, I don't understand what she's trying to say. Let me not assume.
All
All right,
right.
so I'm going to let you.
Okay.
I'm going to let you understand what she is trying to say, because you're playing mom here. We'll take a break. We'll take a break. When we come back, the show continues.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
All right, if you're just joining us, we're the last lap, and the program is Conversations. We have been talking about managing our marital relationship. Yes, I see a lot of messages coming here. We'll try to take them, but I know that Uju, you tell me, Uju Roots from Anambra, you say you're enjoying the program, we should keep talking. We'll keep talking. Another person is asking how he or she, your name is not here, can get the book. 7 times 7 equals to 49. Okay, I'll text you the link because I don't have it in my head, and later on, if you go to our site, you'll probably see it there. Good morning, my name is Justin. I'm married with 2 kids. Is it advisable for a married woman to choose her family over her husband in terms of love? Loving her family more than her husband, and every little misunderstanding she runs to her family. Of course, you will get to have your answers because there are women here to answer you. I am Henrietta by name. I really love conversation. The question is, showing who you are in marriage is good, but the situation whereby I open up to my spouse, telling him the truth of what I feel about him, why he does not open up. He feels I'm being rude or disrespectful. Please, how do I go about this? Let me just stop at these 2. Let's start from the first one. She quarrels. Every little quarrel, she goes to her mom. Please, maybe you should address it.
Okay. It's definitely not. Because you already said, the 2 of you shall become one. Yes. The truth is, yes, there's a place for family, but you don't run home every time. I mean, you have to understand yourselves. You have to be able to resolve your matters yourself, no matter what, no matter how hard it is. Yes, after you have done what you can, then you can ask, what do you think I should do? But you definitely can, besides quarreling, you can't even choose your family or your first family. How do I put it? Because everybody's your family.
The minute you marry, your
yes,
family
you have become, you now have your own
It's
family.
extended.
So how do you do that? How do you have your own family? Face your family. Face your front.
Thank you. Just face your front.
Yes.
Like they say, Facebook and pass exam. Because they said 2 shall become 1. Whether the man or the woman, you should not go to your family for any reason. Because the truth is, if I'm married and any small thing my husband does, I go to tell my parents,
They'll paint it
tell
black.
my sisters, tell anybody. I am reducing his value. And mind you, you're still bearing his name.
Yes.
You must protect that name, because the minute his value drops, automatically your own value has dropped.
Yes.
So
And your love will
cover-
continue to grow, but nobody will understand.
Even when you forgive yourselves and move on, people will never, remove it from their mind that your husband was once upon a time a criminal because you said so.
Yes.
They will never remove it from their mind that once upon a time he was a pathological liar.
Liar.
Even if he
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
So try to cover his dirt and then decide that he's clean. Blow it open. Because you're actually doing yourself a favor. That's my own. And the favor too flows down to your children.
That's true. And it brings to this point, how do we get into the recruitment process? How do they get to meet? What were the discussions that they have? How did they get to know each other prior to all of these revelations that are coming in? Because from the beginning of the relationship, we always get to know that this person is like this. People don't change, right? Why would you run to your family? I mean, if you have a new seed and it's planted, you don't go back to the tree that the seed came from to find out what's going to happen, right? You nurture that seed and ensure that that seed becomes a good tree or even better than the old tree to bear more fruit. And that's the concept that we should get into relationships with. I'm sure she asked that question because she has this concern, believing that, her family takes good care of her better than where she is, forgetting that she can actually build this new relationship better than where she was coming from.
I think it works both
I don't
ways.
know. I don't know who the person is, but that's why they say when you want to get married, you try and look at class. I think basically maybe her
a good one.
her family are the ones that are better off, and they have the supposed name and all that, and you see, and that pedigree, and that's why I always tell people, it is easier for a woman to meet a man with all the pedigree, and it will work, than when the man doesn't have that pedigree and it's the woman that has it. So the problem now
Just
is
like you earning more than your husband.
that's it. And you see, and that's why we keep saying that how did you people meet? How did you start? Because when you meet, those are the questions you should ask yourself. When you get to these tough situations, is it gonna work? How do I manage it? Because I go to some families, people I know, at the wedding, it's despicable.
It's glaring, isn't it?
It's terrible. They put the groom's side, because they always put those tables. They put them behind, and it's the woman's. You see, that foundation has already started faulty.
Segregative relationships.
It's terrible, and that's the biggest problem. And that's why I always tell people I know, marry your class.
Yeah, don't be unequally definitely.
Marry your class.
If you're not marrying your class, then the next you want to do, be ready
for what comes.
For what comes with that.
But it also works both ways, because I know a story of a man who is the man, who's the one who treats the woman like you're beneath me, and it's the same man who goes and reports his wife, and says, look, this is my wife. I know how I met her. I know what she's like. I'm the one that made her this.
It will work.
Yeah,
Such men are very insecure. If you ask.
It will work.
Yes.
It's insecurity.
It's insecurity. I mean, it's like kiss and tell. You do something for a girl, you go back and talk about it. And
Even with a woman,
Yes.
I picked him.
Yeah.
That also tells me what's the place of and probably that will be the last thing we'll be discussing because the time is almost up. What will be the place of discussing your spouse? I mean, guys sit down and talk about their wives. And
I
their
think
life.
for me, most of the time is frustration. And you see, this is the thing. Most of the times, guys do this talking when they are drinking. So even if you ask them tomorrow, you tell them this is what they said the next day, they can remember.
Yeah.
So the thing here is that then the economic situation in Nigeria.
It has gone to Nigeria.
That there's no money, work. You see, the pressure of life. Let's be realistic. The
Can I say
pressure
something?
of life is
for me, I also think that there's a place for everything. So sometimes we need to talk to people. That's the truth. Sometimes you're tired of just sitting in your house and trying to make it work with this person. It's working, oh, yes. I mean, like we said, the love is there, your friends and all of that. But at some point, a long time ago, I asked a pastor wife, pastor woman, mommy, Mrs., whatever they call it. Yeah, exactly. I said to her, I said, I said, when you quarrel with your husband, when you and you're feeling like this, what do you do? I mean, like, how do you resolve it? Because I mean, sometimes they make us feel like we're not good enough. Our own spiritual level is not.
It's not that.
So she said, I get into my car, I drive very far to my friend's house, and I just let it out. So the truth is, at some point, because if not, you will go crazy, you will go cuckoo.
All right. Our time is almost up, and we're going to continue with this topic, and I want to beg the three of you to please join us again on Wednesday, because there are a whole lot of messages here, and I'm being told that we haven't been able to touch the topic even up to 50%. So next week we're having managing marital relationship part 2. And you still have the same guest seated. So you can go ahead with your questions. We'll make sure we'll start with the questions so we don't get killed. All right. And I'll say just bon appetit. Everything here is edible. It's not plastic. So let's just continue eating. While we say thank you to the writer, Tux Giwa Amu, for the book. Some people are asking for how to get it, and we'll make sure that we'll post it on our site to ensure that everybody gets to, get a copy and make a perfect relationship, even when it's imperfect.
Yes.
All right, to see you again next week. Don't forget, it'll still be the same topic, managing marital relationship in our homes, and it's peace. Love yourself.
Bye.